There have been several reports and rumors discussing Putin's health. According to Metro News and the General SVR Telegram channel, Russian President Putin experienced a severe headache, along with partial numbness in his right arm and leg. He received immediate medical attention, including initial treatment and medication, and was advised to rest for a few days. The Telegram channel, claiming insider knowledge from the Kremlin, has consistently claimed that Putin is battling cancer and that his medication is impacting his decision-making abilities. The General SVR has reported that this sudden decline in the president's health has caused increased concern among his inner circle. For several years, the conversation of what if Putin dies has been relevant. However, in the middle of this pandemonium and utter discord, the conversation is the most relevant.
Your belief is that Putin is sick and may not have long to live.
If it was your father, what would you think?
Yeah,
he was seriously ill.
Russia is the largest country, with an area of 17.1 million kilometers. Along with the largest area, it also has the largest stockpile of nukes, which can end the world multiple times. Such destructive power and jurisdiction are under the control of Mr. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, the president of Russia. Russia has been at war for more than a year. It's lost 2 million devoted military men and has entered the bad books of many countries. And the government is facing a national-level threat from the Wagner mercenary group, which has taken over several military sites. Even Putin himself acknowledged that the country is in a difficult situation.
Толкает страну к анархии и братоубийству, к поражению в конечном итоге и к капитуляции.
The 69-year-old ex-KGB officer has been in power for 11 years and has a knack for being in the limelight, be it his fitness regime or fitness regime and the suppression of media. Oh, and his most famous, no, the most infamous, decision of declaring all-out war. Such is the current situation in Russia, a tornado of chaos led by one single man, Putin, at the helm. So what happens to this chaos ball that Russia is? Here's the answer. There's very little known about the possibilities of what will be done if the president dies, because the Constitution of Russia does not specify the protocol to be followed if the president dies while in office, only mentioning the possibility of health reasons, which is more like a resignation. The answer to what happens if Putin dies also depends on whether his death is anticipated or not, and the timing of Putin's death. So, will his death be sudden or expected? And will the Russians have time to plan things out? If they have the time, they'll be preparing a new successor. The longer the time frame available, the smoother the transfer of power can be managed. Assuming the support for Putin remains relatively steady, both Putin and his successor will possess significant political leverage, commonly referred to as the ideology of Putinism. This ideology has thus far guaranteed a stable regime, so expect very little change. However, the real question is what's in store if the whole thing happens suddenly and the Russians are caught with their pants down. The effects of his death will be felt in geopolitics, foreign policy, and huge effects on its economy. If his death is sudden and no successor is ready, things are quite unpredictable. Putin's regime would experience numerous upheavals, and the influence of the elite would greatly intensify. Many analysts believe that appointing a new prime minister would be an ideal initial step toward a potential successor, considering the status of acting president. If he dies abruptly, the war in Ukraine will be over and millions of lives will be saved. One life for a million. I don't know about justice and stuff, but I would take that any day. The end of the Ukrainian war will have a domino effect like his death. The death of a world leader like Putin will have ripple effects all over the world. He's been a central figure in shaping Russia's foreign policy over the past 2 decades. His death will mostly lead to shifts in Russia's approach toward other countries, particularly its relations with the United States, European Union, and neighboring countries like Ukraine. The new leadership's foreign policy stance and priorities would determine Russia's future engagements on the global stage. The effects of his death on geopolitics are quite significant. But now, let's move our eyes toward the economic ramifications and the impact it'll have on the world economy. Russia's economy is closely tied to Putin's rule, and his death could impact investor confidence and economic stability. International markets could experience fluctuations as investors assess the potential consequences of political changes in Russia. The new leadership's economic policies and ability to manage the transition will play a crucial role in determining the economic impact. His death could lead to internal power struggles and political instability within Russia. Various factions and individuals may vie for power, potentially creating a period of uncertainty and volatility. The new leadership would face the challenge of maintaining stability, addressing social and economic issues, and managing the country's relations with other nations. This makes us ask the most significant question of this situation. Who's next after Putin, you all ask? No one actually knows. What we all can do is just present an educated guess. So here's our educated guess. Many observers believe that appointing a new prime minister as an acting president is an advantageous initial step toward identifying a potential successor and initiating a power transition. Despite his commendable qualities, it's improbable that Putin regards the current prime minister, Mikhail Mishustin, as his potential successor. Mishustin lacks a close relationship with Putin and has remained confined to the role of a political technocrat. Even if an unforeseen event were to occur tomorrow and Mishustin assumes the role of acting president, it does not guarantee his status as the favored candidate in a subsequent presidential election due to the absence of Putin's endorsement. It's extremely difficult for us to make a correct guess. However, one thing has been clear since the beginning of the video: utter chaos. According to political analysts and experts, if there's no designated successor, the formal institutions would gain importance, and the elites would have a more significant role to play. Currently, the key centers of power operate under Putin's informal regime. However, in the absence of a successor, these institutions would become channels for the interests of major corporations, security services, the leadership of United Russia, and influential associates and friends of Putin. The selection of a successor would be a highly competitive process, with the main question being whether the elites could reach an agreement. The outcome would depend on various factors, particularly the state of Putinism itself, which is Putinism is a political ideology characterized by authoritarianism, nationalism, and centralized governance associated with Vladimir Putin's leadership in Russia. Presently, with the government enjoying high ratings, a mobilized population, and a silenced opposition, there's a strong likelihood that the elites would come to an agreement, with conservative forces, primarily the Siloviki, taking the lead. This would result in a more aggressive, hawkish, and repressive regime that aligns with current public opinion in Russia. However, if Putin were to depart at a time when the pro-war faction is weakened, political support for the regime is low, discontent is high, and economic problems persist, the Siloviki would have less maneuvering space, and the voice of modernizers and big business would be stronger. In such a scenario, selecting a successor would be a more contentious process. The nature of the political mainstream would play a significant role in determining the direction of the country. A prevailing anti-Western, anti-liberal, conservative ideology at the time of Putin's passing would likely lead the elite to maintain the status quo or tighten control. Conversely, if the political and economic situation worsens, general discontent rises, the opposition gains strength, and the appeal of Putinism fades, the chances of Russia having a reform-minded but potentially weak president increase.
Я не буду это молча терпеть!
This just proves that at a time like this, the death of world leaders like Putin, whose influence throughout the world is just humongous and unfathomable. And for Russia, it shows that the earlier the death of Putin, the sooner the emergence of the conservative revanche. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content. Until next time, this is Military Minds signing off. See you in the next video.